Had a good punt return earlier. Taryn Shive is kicking off here into the field. Oh, and Branch. That's a great job. What a great job by Zachariah Branch. Freshman to the house.
Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, along with Evan Desai, and I am podcasting off the beautiful shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. POR SBR is my Twitter. Is it still Twitter? I don't know, Evan. I'm not even sure. It's X. It's X. Put the X up. POR SBR is my Twitter handle. And then you can also use that to get 10% off activelyblack.com. Activelyblack.com. Their greatness is in their DNA. They have a whole collaboration with Muhammad Ali stuff, and they have some stuff with Allen Iverson that he wore during the Hall of Fame induction as well too. So shorts, all that stuff like that. They got bathing suits. They got everything you need for activewear on activelyblack.com. 10% promo code PORSBR is your Twitter. It's my Twitter handle and that promo code. We had a football to talk about. We're excited about the fact we have football to talk about. I'm really excited to have Evan Desai on to kind of wrap up week 0, if you will. I'm not sure why we're even talking about USC, because Notre Dame won the championship against Navy, so we should just not even bother with it. Can I just start off with I had a tweet out there the other day. So I'm watching NFL Game Day. College Game Day. They tease the Pac-12 25 million times. Show clips of the Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams. They do this over and over and over and over again. And then they never even preview the conference. They never preview the conference, and they just go right to, picking the, the conference. They all pick Washington. Nobody picks USC. Reese Davis had to remind them that you guys know that USC plays in this conference. Like they're not spending any time on it at all. At all. As if like this conference has 3 teams that could be in the playoff. You should probably, but if that's the preference of a conference, that they have 3 teams that could possibly make the playoff, you should probably talk about that conference, right, Evan?
No, I think so. I think this is the year that you should talk about the Pac-12. For being honest, there have been some years where it really hasn't been worth talking about the Pac-12. This year is not one of them. It's pretty loaded, especially when you just take a look at its identity as far as having an offensive identity and really kind of being really strong there. When you talk about the type of quarterbacks you're going to have playing, it's like 7-8 teams deep when it comes to the quarterback play. And like you said, there's a few playoff contenders, a couple other teams that potentially surprise some people. The Oregon State's obviously one of them. I don't know how you can ignore the Pac-12 this year. I'm not the biggest fan of the Pac-12, how they like to do things, but on the football field, it's going to look pretty nice this year.
Well, and before you get to the game, what do you think about the new athletic director? It sounds like she did a really good job at Washington. Washington fans weren't happy with the fact that she left, so that's always a good thing. And she also is she also helped them get into the Big Ten, so she was able to broker a deal, which is something that that position has kind of struggled with, to say the least, for USC.
No, yeah, I think she checks a lot of different boxes. You bring up the Big Ten, that's a big one. Obviously, she wasn't one of these athletic directors that's just like dilly-dallying, waiting for the Pac-12 to magically come back together and all that. She decided she wanted to get out. Also, just her being from Southern California, I think she kind of gets Southern California, which is obviously important. Not that you can't be successful if you're not from Southern California, but just she obviously gets the culture, the vibes, and everything. That does matter, absolutely. No, out of the office baggage or anything like that. USC struggled with that in the past. And, also just, I remember we were talking about it when Mike Bono was let go and everything. you want to kind of have someone that has experience in this role at a big program that's willing to leave. And that's really hard to find. And now Washington's not, a blue blood level program, but they are big enough to where, that's a decent find right there that USC was able to get somebody from, probably the second best program in the conference, second best program on the West. That's what you're looking for. You're the best program on the West. You want to find someone at that very next best program that has experience, that is a good fit. So I thought that was an outstanding hire. I was impressed to see that.
Exactly. And people were giving me grief about the attendance of the game. The stadium holds 77. There was 63,000 people there at that game. So let's calm down. I mean, people look at it for any reason to come at USC. That's how I know the USC is going headed in the right direction. 56-28 win versus San Diego State. Defensive lapses here and up and down after holding them scoreless in the first quarter. Zachariah Branch goes nuts in his first college football game. I thought I think they kind of used this game, and I thought it was. People can say whatever they want. They're gonna say they're gonna say my shirt, your hat. They're gonna say we're homers anyway. But I thought it was smart to get a lot of different people on the field for SC, and they kind of treated it like a glorified scrimmage. I felt like my previous instant reaction to the I kind of went a little bit harder on the defense. Let's just see how this builds throughout the season. And when they play finally at that first tough game when they play at Notre Dame. But right now, there's some situational football where they made some mistakes. Also, there are some players who I thought like Damani Jackson was really great in man-to-man coverage. Jamil Muhammad is going to be a beast off the edge. And then if they really wanted to keep Keon Bars and Bear Alexander in the game for the whole game, they could have made this a little bit more lopsided than it was. But what are your overall take about the 56-28 victory over the Spartans?
Well, I think you kind of hit on why it can be a little bit tough to evaluate because, you said they treated it like a glorified scrimmage. I completely agree with that. The entire game, it felt like one of those NFL preseason games, Mm-hmm. And to be quite honest with you, USC has a 6-week preseason, really 7 if you count the bye week. So I understand why they would treat it like a glorified scrimmage because they can. What did we have last year? A 2-week preseason. You had Rice and Stanford, but then you got to go back and got to play a good Fresno State team with Jake Haener healthy at the time. And then you got to go on the road to play Oregon State. So, they didn't really have much of a preseason there. They have it this year. They're treating it like that. I was disappointed by the defense. I don't really know why there's all this talk about, the defense is going to be better. Not from like me and you, but there are some people like in the media saying that the defense is going to be way better. The talent level is just so much higher. It's evident in camp and everything. And I'm kind of confused because they're also saying that they're not letting media members really watch camp, only like small parts of the beginning of practice or whatever. So you're going off of camp noise, which everyone's always has positive things to say about camp. Yeah. And you're not even really watching it. So I'm a little bit confused by that. I did not think that the defense looked so much better and everything. But if we're looking at positives, like you said, it's kind of hard to evaluate when you're constantly rotating guys in, kind of trying to figure out how you want to play during the season. Mm-hmm. There were a few of those transfers I thought really showed out. I thought Bear Alexander looked good. You mentioned him earlier. I thought Anthony Lucas looked very good. And then I did want to see a little bit more out of Mason Cobb. I felt like he played a little bit vanilla at times. There were some times where he was in range of ball carriers, and I knew that he could dive and make a tackle, like a shoestring tackle. He didn't really go for that effort. So I was disappointed to see that. But he also had like 6 tackles. I think he had like 2 tackles for loss, something like that. Maybe it was PDs. He filled the stat sheet in one way or another. And I remember seeing him make some plays that I liked. So there were some positives to take from it. But I would like this defense to be better, and it's going to have to be better if they want to try to go 11-1 or 12-0.
Yeah, they have to avoid that second loss. They get the second loss, it's over. I hate to say it like that. I thought there were times where I think Anthony Lucas, something to be excited about. He had 3 tackles, two tackles for loss in this ball game as well. I think the biggest thing that annoyed me was the cover 2 defense late in the first half. The touchdown right before halftime. That I know you want to get Demont. They could have played this differently. that I'm not sure what Damani was doing on that play, but that's his play. Like you cannot even allow, like there's 10 seconds left in the half. They're gonna take one shot at the end zone. Like everybody else is bottled up. I'm sitting there right in that happened right in front of my end zone. And I knew as soon as that because San Jose State has a veteran quarterback. This is his 6th year playing college football. He's probably going to be an NFL backup at some point as well. He was basically Tua's in high school. He didn't get to play because Tua was in front of him. So that just shows you how his ability. He's definitely a Division I quarterback. But you like if you make a mistake like that, they're gonna take advantage of that. Also, they had a great diving play in the late in the for a touchdown in the end zone as well. But I still again like force some field goal attempts. Like you know what I mean? That's what I'm looking for as well. So like they need to get better. I'm not gonna like I said I want to see them continue to move this in the right direction. I thought Tackett Curtis was a guy who I thought was very good in coverage in this game. Watching it live, and then I thought there was a play in the game where I thought he could have. You know how the quarterback throws the football, and then it's like that 1-2 heartbeat before, and you see a guy just pound the quarterback and then get the penalty. You could see him hold up and just tap the quarterback on the back. Like, you know what I mean? He wasn't going to light him up in that spot. That's really just smart football because, you know, he's a little bit older as a freshman, but that was actually a smart play by him. So they call him Captain America. So good job by Captain America as far as that goes. But I'm not going to, like I said, but I think one thing I'll say about this defense too is they will, two things. One, you can feel it in the crowd. Like the crowd is looking for this defensive unit to step up. It's the part where people get the most frustration from this team is the defense. But if you told people if everybody said just hey, give USC just a mid defense and they can win the whole thing. Well, if they play mid, like well, why are we getting mad? Like, if they play that way, why are we getting mad about it? So I feel like this is a situation where like it's USC, it's people want to write them off as not for real, but let's be real. Like as long as 13's out there, it's going to be very difficult for them to be written off as if they are not a legitimate team. We just got to see how legitimate they're going to be because we know what level of play they have to get to. And then, hey, Georgia and Georgia, all these other teams, we all know how talented they are as well. And even with the fact that they like some of those teams in the SEC that don't even have they don't even know what they want to do with the quarterback situations. And people were just putting them up so high in the rankings as well.
No, yeah, you bring up Caleb Williams, and I feel like the reason why so many fans, just people in general, are obviously so stoked about the offense is not just because they saw what it did last year, they see 56 points in this game, but it's because of how the offense was also treating this like a glorified scrimmage, as you mentioned. I stopped counting at how many different offensive line combinations we saw from USC last night.
That's a lot.
And that hasn't even mentioned all the different skill position groups that they put on the field yesterday from really all different skill positions. We saw different looks from tight ends. Sometimes we're seeing Lake McCree, and then sometimes we're seeing him off the field to bring in extra receivers. We saw, a good dose of Deuce Robinson, especially towards the end of the game. We saw Kyron Ware-Hudson being used throughout the game. We saw Zachariah Branch have a crazy debut, as a true freshman in his first game. And that doesn't even mention, that huge play obviously by Taj Washington. It felt like Mario Williams had a quiet day. But in reality, outside the one drop, I think he did fine. He just didn't have as many opportunities because there were so many guys that were spreading the ball to. So the offense is still working out the kinks as well, yet they still put up 56 points. So, I think that while it's important to remember, okay, this defense did disappoint. In my opinion, they definitely did. But it's important to remember, they were obviously working on a lot of different things as far as rosters and rotations worked. And while the offense cooked, they were also doing things like that too. So the offense probably could have stacked up even more points if they wanted to. We even used our third string quarterback yesterday, so it's important.
Both quarterbacks.
Oh yeah. We used both backup guys. So it's important to, hold the team accountable when things aren't going well on the defense side of the ball. But it's also important to just realize just how great this offense is. It really makes for, as great of a team it is, especially now they have a real special teams. We just saw yesterday, which is nice.
And I want to say you mentioned special teams, and that's something that on our Raiders show and on this show, I like talking about special teams. And I'll say this: I think this is something where it's going to be an issue for teams now because I think not only you have Zach Branch because he wants to be called Zach Branch now, so no more Zachariah. He wants to be called Zach Branch, and then Raleek Brown as well. I don't want to forget about him as well. He's dynamite in the open field as well. So you have him back there. So if you don't get a couple of first downs, you're going to be in trouble because you're punting within in your own territory inside the 25-yard line, and then you have this guy back there who if you try to kick it, if you try to kick it to him, he can put it in plus territory or give Caleb Williams the football at the 50-yard line. If you try to kick it, if you do a kickoff, the same thing. Like if you try to pin him in the corner or whatever, if you don't have a kicker who can get it into the end zone, then you could be in a situation where he flips field position again. Like the guy is, I mean, they have a lot of different ways to kind of skin a cat here and beat you. And I think also like those are kind of the things that special teams wise they could really hurt you in a lot of different ways. And I would definitely say that that Zach Branch and just the myriad of speed guys they can use in the return game just kind of just it changes the whole dynamic of how you play USC. Like it's not like they're gonna have to go 80 yards, 90 yards for a score all the time. You give Caleb Williams a short field, you might as well just put 6 on the board.
Oh, without question. I mean, we kind of saw the offense press a little bit on that last drive before the half, and they ended up taking that sack, and they ended up giving San Jose State good field position. People say there's the whole debate. Is special teams a third of the game? Is it not a third of the game? All I know is special teams is really, really important because it tells the story of what situations your offense, defense are going to get in due to field position, of course. And thought Eddie Chapuki did his thing, as far as punting. Luckily he didn't have any chances to punt, but when he did have his chances, I thought he looked good. And then obviously Zach Branch did his thing, not only as a kick returner, but a punt returner as well. And, like you said, it's going to be really tough because, you don't want to kick to him. The dangerous thing about it is obviously if you don't kick to him, you just give the ball to USC at the 20, they have a chance to score no matter what, just because, we saw in the last game, it's not even just, the Austin Joneses and Marshawn Lynch that can run the ball. Quentin Joyner can run the ball. Darwin Barlow can run the ball. They'll be able to wear you down if you give them that long field. You give them that long field, and they're going to pound the rock over and over and over again. We look up, 7 minutes went off the clock. They just worn down your front 7. Now you give up a score. It's going to be a long day. So, it really opens up so much more. And there were times when special teams really hurt us last year. I mean, no question about it. And there were a lot of big plays being made. And that was a huge deal.
Yeah, at the end of the Tulane game, the end of the Utah game. I mean, after Utah scores that 2-point conversion, they have a holding penalty when Raleek Brown put the ball on the 50-yard line with 40 seconds left. You can't tell me that Caleb Williams is not winning that game with the ball and those special teams. You make an argument they cost us a chance to play for a national championship and the college football playoff. So a little bit more attention to detail there. And I thought it was smart on some of those returns because he had a bunch of returns that were really close to being broken, and there weren't even any, because I had a great view of it being there. There wasn't even a player who even attempted a block that could be called for a hold. So they did a good job of not holding or committing a penalty on any of those kickoff returns too. So the guy is just he's electric. I mean, I know people going with the Reggie Bush stuff. I mean, just like that's fine, like whatever. I mean, he's let that kid be let the kid be himself as far as that goes. I think it's phenomenal what he's able to do. I thought it was cool too that Miller Moss got a chance to get in. He was 5 of 7, 63 yards. Malachi Nelson also got in as well. So a lot of different people touched the football for them. They rushed the ball 33 times, and you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different runners touched the football there. And then we had 24 receptions. And we had Malachi Lemon had a catch. Jacoby Lane, I mean, all the way through as far as that goes. So good to see them. They kind of spread the wealth as far as that goes in this ball game. And no turnovers by them, but I didn't like that kind of bothered me a little bit, and I talked about it in my instant reaction show. that they weren't able to force one. Like I thought Jalil Muhammad he almost had one. When he came around the corner, almost like that classic Lawrence Taylor old NFL films. Almost had to strip the ball away. I think they had a sack and they forced a fumble, but they did not. But they weren't able to recover it. But it was nice to get a turnover in that game. I think that's always adds juice to your defense when you get a turnover, as far as that goes. But again, I mean, he wasn't. I mean, 21 of 38 is not a good percentage. So in that part of it, that was good because I think every quarterback who played SC last year, especially in the second half of the season when they had to deal with all those injuries, they all had a high percentage of high completion percentage, and the San Jose State quarterback did not have that.
No, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it was just frustrating that they held him to very few yards and obviously a very low completion percentage, but he had the 3 passing touchdowns. That was just kind of killer. It was like, so they're marching down the field with the run game, and they're burning you in the end zone with the pass game. So that was a little bit disappointing, but
and his and I want to talk about this too as well. He's one of the quarterbacks who can move. Does it bother you that they were able to a lot of times there's man coverage, so you're back into the quarterback, but he was able to scramble a couple times and get and keep drives alive for San Diego for San Jose State.
Oh, yeah, it did bother me, man. I was kind of confused by the game plan in general last night. I'm very confused. Oftentimes, I'll hear, "Oh, this is a bend don't break defense," but that's kind of not exactly what it's supposed to be. This is a speed D. This is wreaking havoc at the line of scrimmage, using really all your front seven, having them run kind of diverse, you know, attack the quarterback in many different diverse ways. Try to cause a lot of confusion along the line of scrimmage, and hopefully force turnovers that way. Get in the quarterback's face.
Mm-hmm.
Which Jamil Muhammad did on that play when you mentioned he was just shot out of a cannon. I didn't see Rush Hens getting shot out of a cannon consistently last night. I really didn't. I mean, and that's where this defense is at its best, when they're allowed to just go after the quarterback. And Alex Grinch did that. He made his name off of that at Washington State because he didn't have big athletes. They were just athletes, and they were really aggressive, and things worked out. And that's what I'm confused as to when he tries to dial up those plays, though, because he tried to do it on that 3rd and 22, and then sure enough, the quarterback was able to scamper out. He converted a 3rd and 22, and I believe San Jose State scored on that drive. And then there were some times where we've seen him, last year, he's dropping back to rush in coverage, and he's dropping back to flow to in coverage. And we're like, well, what is going on here?
What's going on there? Yeah.
I'm kind of confused as to what his philosophy is. It seems to change throughout the game, which is really weird. So I don't know what to say.
What is he? I think the question to sum it up too is what does Alex Grinch hang his hat on?
Yeah.
As a coordinator, you know what I mean? So I mean, is it, there's certain the core defensive coordinators, they call Tampa 2, they call the Tampa 2, they call cover 2 Tampa 2 for a reason, because Tony Dungy made that famous, right? Do you want to run at 3rd and 22? Do you want to with a mobile quarterback? I mean, they had a good rush on that play.
Yeah,
somebody missed their rush lane because he was just. I mean, once you get past the quarterback, I mean, somebody has to be there. So it looked like linebacker Mason Cobb was the guy who should have been able to close that play out. But to your point, I definitely understand that part of it. I think the question I've always asked, and I would ask Lincoln Riley, and he probably would not like if I asked that question, but I would always ask him hey, what would give you trouble if you had to go against Alex Grinch's defense? You know what I mean? He's a well-renowned, top-tier offensive coordinator, head coach, play caller, in Lincoln Riley. But if your defensive coordinator should be a guy who would give you trouble, and I'm not sure even if you gave him superior athletes, would he give Lincoln Riley trouble? So I mean that's the thing. So it's one game. I don't want to go nuts off of one game, but to your point, I do see what you're being 100% fair. What does Alex Grinch hang his hat on as far as being a coordinator?
Oh yeah, that's why I kind of you mentioned what about Alex Grinch's defense with both Lincoln Riley. That's why I didn't really believe that thing about the defensive line looks better than the offensive line. That thing that we heard in camp. It's like that sounds like camp speak. That sounds like what they say to try to act like everything is all butterflies and rainbows during camp. But it's a lot different when the war zone actually happens on Saturdays. I know it's week 0. They didn't have that extra week, which I think also affected USC because I think they were probably treating like I basically think that they would have played Eric Gentry more if he didn't have that injury at the end of last season. Because I think they want to give him time to recover and everything. We saw them kind of take him off the field at weird times. I know they were rotating guys, but it's week 0. You didn't have as much time to recover as every other team's gonna have for their first game. I get there's gonna be a little bit of rust. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see improvement next week. If you think San Jose State's bad, you see Nevada. We should be able to roll Nevada, and if we're not, that's the problem.
I would say this to the D line. I would like to see a little less Solomon Bird and a little bit more Anthony Lucas. More just seeing the game live, it just was better. Especially in third and long. I would like to see me personally, Lucas. I want to see Lucas. I want to see Jack Sullivan. I want to see Bear Alexander, and I want to see Muhammad go get the quarterback. And then after that, I mean, let those 4 because I want to get to the point where like the 4. I want to see if the 4 guys can get there because that's what they have to get used to. Because I mean, because you want to be able to like that will let you know whether or not if we can't get there against Nevada, Stanford, okay, fine. Maybe one guy's getting there, but like we need more. So let me know. Okay, now that lets me know as a defensive coordinator. Okay, I gotta blitz Gentry. I gotta find out how to blitz Tackett Curtis. I gotta blitz Mason Cobb and get some more pressure. I gotta bring a slot corner off the maybe bring Jalen Smith off the corner to get the quarterbacks and stuff like that. So it's hard to say whether or not they're better or not. I think they definitely have better athletes. I'd rather take this than what they had last year, even with Thule. I mean, if Thule was playing this year, then this would be off the charts. Fine, good to go. But I think they are better. I just feel like I feel like it's a one, and they also played a lot of they played a lot of rotate. They played a lot of guys who they probably wouldn't play if they were playing a top tier opponent on Saturday.
No, that's definitely true. And I think like what I'm really curious to see actually isn't even necessarily primarily the front 7 because I know like if you have 2 shutdown corners, that makes your front 7's job way easier because like you mentioned, they can if the front 4 aren't getting to the quarterback consistently against San Jose State and Nevada, they can find out ways to end up dropping somebody else, to end up blitzing from somebody else in the linebacking core, or maybe they'll have a rush end, run a contain for a play. I'll have Mason Cobb come rushing in, or maybe they'll put Shane Lee on a play on a rundown, and he'll try stuff to run that way. I think that things get way easier. Things will get way easier if guys like Christian Roland Wallace, Sire Wright, and Damani Jackson can really lock down the outside. And again, they didn't give up many yards through there. They really didn't. It was just the plays in the end zone. In particular, that one with the breakdown with Damani Jackson and Max Williams. That was obviously Damani Jackson's play. So the secondary is going to be key as far as the corners go. I trust that Kalen Bullock will have a good season, so I'm hoping the safeties will kind of work themselves out. And I think if those corners get together and they work really well, I think they can with another year with Dante Williams as their defensive backs coach and bringing in as corners coach and bringing in Christian Roland Wallace. If that happens, that's going to make things a lot easier when it comes to stopping the run and when it comes to putting pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah. I just feel like the drive summary it was kind of weird. It was like 3 and out, touchdown, 3 and out, touchdown. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the weirdest part about it. Offensively, real quick, I just want to talk about Marshawn Lloyd is going to be, especially late in games, like once he gets through the offensive line, he's going to be difficult to deal with because he plays like another Marshawn. Like he really is hard to bring down with one person. So like look for him. I'm obviously they still have Austin Jones, and if you're looking for a change of pace, Quentin Joyner is that and a whole lot more. He is fun to watch play. There are some plays where he was in the backfield getting locked up. And then next thing you know, he's out the back door and getting like a 7-8 yard gain. So I like this backfield dynamic they got going on.
Yeah, and do you by any chance remember how many guys had carries yesterday? I don't remember. I think you said it before. It was like 8.
So eight different players had carries, eight different running.
Okay,
So
it would have been.
I'm counting Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it would have been 9 if Marion Peterson was good to go. Like that's
Yeah.
crazy to think about. Like there's so many guys that can run the rock in this offense. And the thing I liked about Marshawn Lloyd was that I actually thought at the beginning of the game he didn't have his he literally figuratively and literally hadn't found his footing yet. For whatever reason, it seemed like he was slipping all over the field. I don't know if you noticed that. At the very beginning of the game, it looked to me like he was slipping a little bit. But then as the game went on, I felt he really found his footing. And he was basically tearing him up. Like I know you mentioned, he plays like another Marshawn. He does, both Marshawns weren't big. They just played way bigger than they were. I see that in Marshawn Lloyd as well. He plays a lot bigger than he is. He's physical. He likes the physicality. You can tell. And we saw in the spring game when we saw it last night, he has moves to get around defenders too. So I personally am a huge Austin Jones fan, especially after what I saw yesterday. I thought he looked really good, but I understand why they were giving Marshawn Lloyd a ton of carries. And I think he really made him count, especially as the game went on.
Yeah, I mean, he is a 5'9", like 210. Like he's a bowling ball. Like he only weighs 5 pounds less than the former president Trump. It's kind of crazy. How that worked out. But sorry, I'm sorry. The weight thing, I'm not gonna get into politics, but like the weight thing is kind of funny. It's kind of funny. That was kind of funny. Yeah, so they had that as well too. Anything about the receiving core before we head out? I mean, I liked everything I've seen. I thought I liked how he is I mean, I think Miller Moss in the battle between him and Malachi Nelson next year is going to be interesting because he seems very cool and calm, but I don't know what the top end for Miller Moss is. I feel like Malachi Nelson might have more on the top end, but we'll have to see. But I thought he came in. I thought he came in well, and like just obviously Caleb just comes in and just first game back, 4 touchdowns, go home, go to sleep, and light work as far as that goes.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the receivers, one thing I did like about them was whenever they did have a bad play, which didn't happen often, they made up they bounced back. Like they were able to put in the pass. They were able to really kind of so many times I see this defense, they'll make one mistake and it'll just keep compounding. That didn't happen with the receivers. Like I remember Mario Williams had that drop and then he had that third down conversion right after that. I know that play when Miller Moss was targeting Deuce Robinson on that drive. And they were saying the ball took a while to get there. The announcers were saying, and he was under duress on that play, and it was kind of thrown into contested coverage. But Deuce Robinson had his hands in that ball, he should catch that, and I expected him to. And then, sure enough, a couple of plays later, he caught a 35-yard pass from Miller Moss and got him in the red zone. So I feel like guys knew how to respond, which I really like to see, especially the young guys. And I mean, Zach Branch didn't look young at all, which was awesome. I was really trying to see if Tyron Hudson would have a breakout game because they've been talking about him all camp. Didn't really see that, but I get how this works. There's a lot of guys to spread the ball around too. We've talked about there wasn't a lot of continuity because they were rotating guys. And even Brendan Rice didn't have many targets, but when he had his chance, he ended up scoring. It was a great play. He looked really athletic on that play. Just this receiver room's so deep, and keep in mind Mike Jack didn't even play. So it's only going to get better.
Yeah, is he hurt?
I believe he was for this game. I believe he'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And I would say this too. We didn't even mention Dorian Singer.
Yeah.
And I would say that too with this, they are the level of unselfishness on this team. But people can say whatever they want about, but whatever. But this group of receivers, they all chose to come to USC, and because of whether it's Nick and Riley, whether it's Caleb Williams, but damn it, dude, a lot of these guys, at least 5 of these guys could go somewhere else and play.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy how many receivers they have where they could have went somewhere else and play. So I did definitely give them credit for that as far as that goes. Student Body Right USC podcast, Dwayne Douglas here along with Evan Desai, just talking about wrapping up putting the bow on game 1 of the year for the 6th ranked Trojans here. Any parting thoughts on the victory for the Trojans here as they get ready for Nevada coming up this week?
Any parting thoughts? I just say I enjoy watching that triple option they did at the beginning of the game. That was awesome. And the guy, a freak athlete like Zach Branch, And seeing Caleb Williams kind of do his thing, he wanted to do, he could do it.
It's weird. It's kind of weird because like I wonder if they're sitting there it's crazy because you're sitting there like when Caleb gets to the outside and you got Zachariah. I was like, it's like Caleb can just keep it or he just throw it backwards for Zachariah Branch, and it's kind of fun. They're getting really. He and Kingsbury, I'm sure, are just sipping wine at the house, watching a good, getting creative ways on how to get things done there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. All right, Trojan family, don't panic yet. Don't panic yet. Get off the bridge. Don't. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. We'll see what happens. We got a long season ahead of us, and for game 1 is done. But we'll see what happens next week against the Wolfpack. They're Wolfpack in Nevada, right? The Wolfpack. I have no idea. All right.
Something like that.
So something like that. All right. Fight on. Take care.